Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have another tarot spread video or just a card spread video. You can use any sort of divination cards that work best for you. I will be using tarot as I think it's a lot of fun, kind of seeing the nuance and the stories that can kind of come through the tarot cards. As I typically do with this kind of video, I'm going to be using the Learning Tarot cards by Witchy Cauldron. So today we will be doing the mental healing spread since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I have not had a lot of chances to do as many like tarot spread videos as I wanted to this month, but we're getting there. So let's kind of see what we can kind of garner from this reading and what we have in store. Hopefully these cards don't call me out too much. So this is from littlesparkofjoy.com. I will link the website in the description box. So, all right. So this is a 5-card spread. First card is going to be, what am I seeing in others that I can't see in myself? So this is going to be card number 1. We have the 8 of Swords. Card number 2 is going to be, what is the source of this projection? We have the 10 of Swords. Great. Loving it already. So what part of this projection can I reclaim? We have the Empress. So card number 4 is, what feelings will I experience when I release this pattern? We have Temperance reverse. And then card number 5 is going to be, what could I gain, whether like a skill or knowledge, by reclaiming this projection? And I think we're going to go actually here, the Page of Wands. All right. So card number 1 is going to be, what am I seeing in others that I can't see in myself? So here we have the 8 of Swords, which is a card of feeling trapped, restricted, backed into a corner, hands tied, victimized, paralyzed by fear, terror, anxiety, feeling pressure, hopeless, helpless, powerless, silenced, crisis, dilemma, drama, imprisonment, punishment, slavery. And this essentially is talking about restriction, right? So with this being, what am I seeing in others that I can't see myself? I think this is interesting. Just from the perspective of everything that's kind of happening right now. I know for like a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff happening that's just very stressful. A lot of people are kind of just fed up with what is going on. And so I can see why I wouldn't maybe always look at myself and see this. I tend to not to be like I'm just glossing over things. I do tend to be more like there's infinite possibilities and more of like, there is always a way to kind of find the next like shining moment in life. And so maybe that's where it's kind of like calling me out a little bit, where it's like, hey, you're not really seeing how you're also kind of caught up in a system that maybe won't always be as beneficial and as helpful as you wish that it could be. So that's kind of how I would read this card for myself today, is just, you know, maybe I'm just not seeing that I'm also pretty restricted in my own life, even though I kind of am doing things on my own terms. And I'm kind of in this like phase of, by being an entrepreneur and like having my own businesses and things like that, like there is some freedom in that, but there's also quite a bit of restriction, in a lot of ways, because I can't just fly off and do whatever I want. I have to be very meticulous about my planning. I have to be very aware of my budgeting, what I'm doing. I can't just like, I'm not in a position yet where I can just do whatever I want whenever I want. And I think maybe that's what this is talking about, is that maybe I tend to also be a lot in my head, and maybe I'm just kind of a lot more afraid of things than I thought I was, if that makes sense. So I can kind of see, as someone with like a lot of mental anxiety, why this card would kind of come up. Cause I do try not to focus too much on the things that make me anxious. And I try not to be too I try not to expose myself too much to things that make me feel anxious, if that makes sense. So, which ends up with me being kind of in my hidey hole a lot of the time. So maybe that's where it's like calling me out a little bit. All right. So card number 2 is, what is the source of this projection? And here we have the Ten of Swords, which is endings and defeat. So backstabbing, betrayal, enemies, bitching, bad mouthing, bitterness, doormat, failure, ruin, collapse, breakdown, exhaustion, inability to cope, curses, rock bottom, hitting a wall, dead end, severing ties, goodbyes, and nail in the coffin. I guess I do. And I haven't made it a secret on here. I tend to be pretty isolated, solitary in a lot of the things that I do. Even both of the businesses that I do currently have are also solo led. I am the only person doing it. I don't really allow other people to kind of come in and assist. Maybe I do have a lot of trust issues. And that's okay. It is what it is. So I think that this is kind of just calling me out on that, is that I've just been too focused on the things that haven't worked out or how things have played out in the past. And so that is something that maybe in some ways has been detrimental to me, because it's not allowing me to kind of move past, that feeling of, I just can't really trust a lot of people and I can't open myself up to other people. So I'm going to read it that way. I think the restrictions that I have are based off of, being afraid to have somebody kind of come in and, misuse or even, create more problems and more drama for me that is unnecessary. So yeah. All right. So card number 3 is, what part of this projection can I reclaim? So here we have the Empress, which is all about pregnancy, fertility, motherhood, sensuality, nurturing, creativity, beauty, femininity, nature, harmony, art, healing, love, union, synthesis, continued growth, material comfort, status, social standing, and a beautiful home. And this says, connecting to the earth reminds me that abundance is unlimited. I think with this, where it's talking about what part of this projection can I reclaim, is maybe being a little bit more focused on what I'm creating, what I'm doing, what makes me feel nurtured, where I can kind of utilize my creativity, where I can kind of bring myself this material comfort and not be so distracted by restriction. And that is something I have been kind of trying to do. I do struggle with it quite a bit. I feel like I have to justify anything that I want, or, things that I'm like, oh, I would like to do this, or I would like to do that. It's like, I feel like I have to justify it to myself a lot of the time. Like, who does it serve or whatever? And I've been kind of in this like vibe of like kind of seesawing between these two aspects of myself. And so I think this makes sense, because it's like, what part of this projection can I reclaim is I need to kind of move back into this like beautiful Taurian energy, right? Of right now I'm having like my Venus return. So I have a lot of like this kind of like motivation of like, I want to, enjoy things and really just be in like, not so much like luxury, but things that feel luxurious to me, like good food, good friends, good times, just really taking time out to enjoy life in different ways. And so maybe that's where it's kind of saying like, hey, I got to kind of like get back into that vibe. That is where things really flow how I need them to. Now, for card number 4 is, what feelings will I experience when I release this pattern? And so here we have the Temperance reverse. So, there's imbalance, self-indulgence, excess, clashing, lack of perspective, discord, antagonism, recklessness, hastiness. So I know my extremes. Now I seek peace is kind of the affirmation on this card. And with the imbalance thing, and like that's something that is, because right now I feel like a lot of things in my life are not in balance. I feel like I've been doing a lot of, I've been putting a lot of effort and like energy into just surviving, just existing, and just doing what I can, and just going through the motions in a lot of ways. And so I think in some ways it will feel like an imbalance, but an imbalance isn't always, to me, negative, because right now things are not in balance. You know, they're not in a balance. And so I need imbalance from where I've been putting all of my eggs in one basket, so to speak. So self-indulgence as well. I know, like, recently I have just been like, it's my birthday month, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And I've been like, cake for breakfast, you know, croissants after dinner, like, you know, just, I've been having a good time. I'm eating all the little truffles and everything because I love chocolate. And so I've just been over here just munching down, and I'm like, and I know I should be very mindful and careful about my weight, but I'm like, you know what? The world is on fire. Let me have my good times. So I think with this, that this is like, you know, what feelings will I experience when I'm releasing this pattern is that because I do tend to go a little too hard in my Empress kind of energy of like very much the physicality, my world, things like that, is that maybe it's kind of saying like, hey, don't be quick to just like do things. Don't be rushing into things, you know, bring things into balance, you know, like figure out my extremes. And so I'm trying to kind of like bring everything back into balance. But I do know that I have been pushing really hard in certain projects in certain directions. And so it hasn't really left me a lot of time to do other things like this, which I do love doing, stuff for YouTube. And I really do want to create more videos, even if like not a lot of people are watching it, it's fine. It just feels like as a manifesting generator, it's like I have to do things because I love it and because I feel drawn to it versus just doing things out of having to do it for everybody else. So it's like, I don't know if that makes sense, but the Temperance reverse card, I think it's kind of saying like, all right, it may feel like I'm kind of bringing things out of balance or whatever, but it's time to kind of get it back together. And finally, for card number 5 is what could I gain? Skill or knowledge by reclaiming this projection. And here we have the Page of Wands, which is good news, courage, optimism, competition, faithfulness, a courageous, energetic young person, salesperson, actors, politicians, preachers, inspirational speakers, athletes, and performers. So this is all about enthusiasm. I will say I have felt like I've just been kind of going through the motions in a lot of ways. And so I haven't really felt like that fire, that drive, that passion like I did initially. Right now. And I think it also has to do with like the stuff that I have going on medically that I'm just kind of like, I'm just fucking tired. And I just want to take some time out to like rest and recuperate. And I'm hoping that after this procedure and you know, I kind of like heal up and things like that, I will feel a little bit more connected to what I'm doing. Because right now it just feels like I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get through the week. I'm just trying to like, you know, just do things and get things done. I haven't really allowed myself to enjoy things quite as much. And I think that's why we have the Empress here. So I think, I will have a sense of being able to kind of get back out there and do things in a way that are challenging to me or maybe feel a little bit scary, because I did make one video of myself on here, but I felt very like, oh no, like, I don't know how it was going to be received. I didn't know how it was going to come off. But I've been getting this message of like, just get out there and do it. It doesn't matter. Stop like overthinking, stop, you know, trying to have it be and look a certain way. So I think with this, it's almost like I will have an opportunity to kind of explore and be new and, you know, kind of go out there with like this positive expectancy that things are going to come together. So this mental healing spread, I think it is a good one, especially if you are kind of struggling a little bit with what you have going on in your head. Because I know for me, I'm very much always overthinking, overanalyzing, too much in my thoughts. And, you know, sometimes it's a good place, sometimes it's not a great place. So I think that this is a good one if you're wanting to just kind of check in a little bit and kind of see where maybe there's a blind spot within yourself, and that your cards can kind of tell you and give you a little bit of guidance. So I hope you enjoyed this spread. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.